I'm super excited that crawl space exists. I'm super excited to hear the noise of the children around the background, Scott. So this is gonna be
hopefully
super
not.
exciting.
They're downstairs watching Nailed It on Netflix, so it'll be good.
Oh well, I mean, hey, you do what you got to do, you know.
Parenting is best.
And Temptation Island is in the queue, Rob.
Hey, there we go.
Speaking about Nailed It.
Oh, so good. Welcome everyone to the Heroes World Quarantine Podcast. Hello everyone again. I am Stupe. I'm here with one of the owners and proprietors of Heroes World, your source for all things nerd, comic books, board games, etc., and accoutrement. That'd be Andre. Say hello to the people of the world.
Hello, people of the world.
And of course, with us is the Prince of Mischief, the Baron to Azimo. Rob, could we do some dance parties afterwards?
Oh yeah, just a little Zemo fist bump in here.
Awesome.
Mr. Rob Gadet, say hello.
Hey, hello everybody.
And we are today with a very special guest. It's his first appearance in 2021, the year of our Lord. Scott, welcome back. How are you doing?
Thank you for having me. This is always, it's a pleasure watching, but it's even more fun to join. So
thank you for dealing with this movie that
Spoken
we call...
like an OBGYN.
Don't give away his day job, Rob. Maybe he doesn't want to let people know what he does.
My superhero. It's like you unmasked me.
Yeah. I just pulled a Mysterio at the end of Spider-Man: Far From Home.
This is the other one where he's like, it's like, what's your name, Dr. Scott? It's like, oh, we're using our made-up names. Yes, I'm Ross Cadet. This is, I guess we're using our made-up names, Doctor Strange. All right, cool. So we are here to discuss the fourth of Legendary's MonsterVerse, which we discovered today was a thing. This is just came out in theaters that saved movie theaters. The tagline for all the variety and all the things like Godzilla and versus Kong has saved movies. People are going to watch it in America, and it was released on direct-to-video VOD on Wednesday. We have all watched it. Scott has really given up his precious time to watch this movie, so I appreciate it. He doesn't have to do this. This is our pain to go forward. And John,
my pleasure.
Yes, John was unavailable to do this. I think he was watching something else.
Purposefully. He was like, I'd rather watch Trolls
World Tour
for the 9th time than let's also take consideration. Scott didn't have to pay for this because our friend Scott is a resident of the United States of America. So this is on HBO Max in the US. So 3/4 of us are a bunch of idiots. Because
no, what you didn't see is Andre's go, wait a second, I just wired you $25. Wait a second, I sent you money to VOD this. So
anyway,
we're gonna keep on going.
That's 2 times I've called Scott out on something.
Seriously.
Okay, so as we mentioned before, this is the fourth of the MonsterVerse. The first of course, being 2014's Godzilla, was directed by it's Gareth
Edwards.
Gareth Edwards as the first one. Then there was 2017's Kong Skull Island with Loki, Brie Larson, and Nick Fury himself, as well as pretty much everyone in the Marvel Universe.
Yep.
There was 2019's Godzilla King of the Monsters, and now there's the fourth of the film, Godzilla versus Kong. These are all part of the cinematic universe known as the MonsterVerse, not to be confused with Universal's universe, the Dark Universe. So
that got canceled after one movie.
Totally different.
Two movies that got canceled because
The Mummy and what else?
Oh, Dracula counted. Dracula was part of the Dark Universe.
Which Dracula?
Which Dracula?
It was like Dracula 2099 or something like that.
Yeah, it was with Luke Evans as Dracula, and it was like a new take on it.
I dodged that bullet then.
It wasn't bad. It's on Netflix.
Is it on Netflix? Okay,
it's on Netflix. I gotta go. Charles Dance
it's okay.
Was in that movie, and he played like the king vampire who turns it, and then basically He is the king of the country, and invaders are coming, and he has to fight them off. And he's like, I guess I need to save my family, and he becomes a vampire, as they would say.
Yeah.
So that was the first, and then the second one was the Mummy, and then they were gonna be like, next
with Tom Cruise.
Man, there was gonna be they had all like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde.
Jekyll Hyde, yeah.
The Jekyll Hyde was with Gladiator himself, Russell Crowe, and then there was Benicio del Toro, Johnny Depp, and there was a whole bunch of people attached.
I do remember seeing that entertainment.
Yes, the picture,
weekly picture, and then you're like, "Oh, this could be cool." No, let's just brush that under the rug. We weren't going there.
Yeah, the Tom Cruise Mummy movie really threw it off. Like that was really like Jake Johnson being a mercenary really just threw that movie off. So
yeah, Javier Bardem was Javier Bardem was going to be in that. Yeah. So, there's a whole bunch of them, and it's
a big whiff. Okay, so back to the topic at hand. This movie, directed by Adam Wingard. His other great note of fame was in 2017. He directed a small little movie called Death Note, based on the anime. So this is where we're at right now, and he's been now tapped to do the next huge franchise, as Rob mentioned in our previous podcast, which is
Thundercats.
Oh.
I cannot wait till he sees what he does with Mumra. So that's what it is. Now,
thankfully, though, it's going to be a CGI animation mock-up, so it shouldn't be live out. So I think we're spared.
Yep. This movie was co-written by Max Bornstein, who is the MonsterVerse himself, because he wrote Godzilla, Kong Skull Island. He wrote the story to Godzilla, King of Monsters, and he wrote Godzilla vs. Kong. So this is all he does. This is all he knows, which makes me question how this movie matches everything else. Because you wrote all the movies, you made the storyline. So I'm like, how does this work, and how is this drastically off? The other co-writer, of course, was Eric Pearson, who is basically a Marvel guy. He did all the Marvel one-shots. A funny thing happened on the Thor's Hammer, The Consultant, like all that stuff he wrote. He wrote Andre's favorite movie, Thor Ragnarok, and he's also wrote Black Widow. So if we have something to look forward to, he is also Black Widow. Yeah, these are things that happen. The budget was $155 to $200 million for this movie. And before we get into thoughts, I'm going to play the most fun game on the internet. I'm going to ask Rob to give a very, very, very unhelpful summary of this movie without giving a positive or negative adjective. Rob, as I can see, as we can quote, your cyborg brain is spinning. Yeah, take a sip.
Everyone's favorite game.
Everyone's favorite game to watch you.
I don't know if it's possible to summarize.
Oh, this is gonna find out. We're gonna do this.
Okay,
he's gonna stick the landing. Superhero landing. Go.
This is a movie unlike any other movie. Two titans.
Wait.
Come
in a world.
Okay, ready? Hang on. Let me put the microphone close. Ready? In a world with two titans. Combine forces to fight man's greatest enemy, himself. So this is a movie that starts that as we've kind of the long preamble essentially said it, we are melding two universes together, two stories. We find Kong hanging out on Skull Island, or a facsimile of Skull Island, who's looking a lot more grayer in the beard, because it has been almost 40 years since we saw him last, in the 70s. And Godzilla is being brought into is attacking major cities throughout the world for an unknown reason. And the thinking is that there is a hidden chamber within the core of the Earth, which my brain wants to keep saying it's Middle Earth, but it's not.
It's the Middle Earth. It's the Middle Earth.
Totally.
Right, but it's called is it
Hollow Earth. Hollow Earth.
Hollow Earth. Thank you. Yeah, see, I was going to say empty Earth. Hollow Earth. And the idea is that to bring Godzilla into that area, they actually need the DNA. They need Kong to do it, because the idea is that animals they have in programmed DNA throughout them. So that's why how the birds always know how to migrate south and this and that. So the idea being that, hey, we're going to get Kong to go down. We'll have Godzilla follow. But Godzilla say, hey, I don't have time for that. I'm going to swim around and Kong's here and he's tied down to his ship. I'm going to bite him. So then we have essentially, though, a very rich human played by it doesn't matter, and
Totally.
and he essentially wants to make humans, return them to the apex predators that we blindingly think we are, and in doing so devises a plan to take out both monsters, and there's this movie ends and we are no further along in our life than we were 2 hours prior.
That is like me asking an 8-year-old to explain the movie to me, Rob. So thank you. That was perfect. That was a great explanation. Damien Bashir is the bad guy of this movie.
Yes.
Famed actor from such movies as Alien Covenant. It's a big deal. He was in that movie. As Sergeant Lope. These are things he was in.
And often mistaken as the guy who serves beer. And he was like,
He was also in the Nun, that horror movie. So he was, in things.
Well, I was having none of it in this movie, let me tell you that right now.
Oh no. So that is Rob's unhelpful summary.
Yeah, it was totally unhelpful because I was
That was great. It's great. If you haven't seen the movie, frankly, that wouldn't have helped you anyway. So if you somehow managed to stay with us this long, thank you. Please subscribe, like, and all that jazz. We're going to go straight into spoilers now because forget it, that we can't hold back anymore. Scott, you're up first as our guest. Unleash the Kraken. We're the Titans. Give us your thoughts. Start us off. Are you first a fan of either Godzilla or Kong?
Growing up, watching all the, literally the guy in the giant lizard suit. And I'm thinking back to what was it, like Spectre Man and, some of the old
Ultraman.
Ultraman. And where you knew that, I kind of always dug it because it was just two big things slugging it out. Right. Or shooting lasers out of their eyes or their hands. So, this it's a little bit of a throwback, right? Where it's I kind of dig it. And so to see it upgraded, with all the CGI and stuff, I think is worthwhile. But I was literally Wednesday years old when I figured out that this was the fourth movie in a universe, right? I had no, and then I had to go back and figure out one of the guy who was piloting the Mecha Godzilla was the son of the guy from the first Godzilla. And then,
from Inception.
Right. So I had to go down the rabbit hole a little bit, but I think, this was like a Wednesday night treat, kids in bed, wife asleep, HBO Max. I already have it. I turned it on to watch two giant things punch each other, and it happened quite a bit. And the plot was razor thin, right? You could slice salami with the plot, right? It is you need, I guess you need it just to get from one fight to the next. But I was actually entertained.
Were you at any point rooting for either Kong or Godzilla? Do you have a preference between either of the two? Do you care?
Growing up, I was a little bit more of a Godzilla fan, to be honest with you. But in this movie, I was kind of rooting for Kong. They did create a little bit of a thread there where you kind of felt for him, and then they did the whole the sign language stuff, and so he had some. He was a very intelligent. Well, I don't know, but an intelligent creature that could communicate, and so they tugged on the heartstrings for as much as a monster Titan kaiju movie can. So I was kind of rooting for Kong, and then I'll be honest with you, that first fight on the boat, that was classic, man. Where it was, Godzilla knows Kong is tied on a boat, so hey, let me go get him, and there was a wicked right hook that was just I was out of my seat, I don't know why, because that was about then it was all downhill, but it kind of got my blood pumping a little bit. Like I was kind of excited. Like I said, I turned it on to watch two giant things pound each other, and there was a lot of it. So,
So
so I, overall, I enjoyed it. A huge shout out to the civil and industrial engineers that built that ship and built a ton of those buildings. Because like, how did that ship stay afloat? Like all the little ships kind of, they sank and Godzilla like whew, like went right through them. And then there was this big ship where they're both standing on it with all the main characters, right? So the ship's not really going down because otherwise, where's the movie going?
Scott, we have hovercraft ships that can fly to the hollow Earth. I think that resolves the question of that.
Yeah, I guess. But like some of those buildings,
we also built a giant mecha Godzilla. So again,
which was cool.
Again, the technology thing, I'm like, that's not the one thing I cared about. I'm like, if they built that, then I figured they can reinforce a ship.
My other favorite part was watching giant Titan heads get rammed into buildings. Awesome. Like and then the rest of it was just sort of, if you signed on for anything more than that, like what were you watching?
So my question to you is
this is not Bridges of Madison County.
I thought it was, and I was very much disappointed. I was waiting for a grumpy, very, very grumpy man to show up and talk about bridges. Scott, did you watch the other MonsterVerse movies? Do you remember any of them?
Not recently, but I have. I over the years, I was like.
Did you watch Godzilla, the first one? The first one with both the Wonder Twins. That was really weird that they're both husband and wife in that
Aaron
movie.
Taylor,
Elizabeth Olsen and
Aaron Taylor.
I actually didn't remember. I mean, I had to once I looked back, I was like, oh yeah, she was in that.
That one, I think before, I go to Rob and Andre, there was a lot of talk where that was too much talking, not enough fighting. And this movie, they've kind of adjusted each movie as according to, I guess, fulfill North American sensibilities of what they're looking for in a kaiju movie. Do you feel that this movie, like you said, you came to see giant monsters fight? Was there enough giant monsters fighting for you? Or was it just,
There were a few slow parts, but I think if you look at that sea battle, and then there was a couple stuff. I want to say Middle Earth so bad, but there was a couple scenes in Hollow Earth that was okay. And then I think the end, that's what I was there for, right? So, and they had to throw in some talkie talk, in there with Bernie. It was Bernie, right? It was Bernie.
Yep.
I get it, because you had to get from one city to the next. I get it, but I thought the balance of punchy versus talky was way better.
Okay. Rob, now off to you. You have some thoughts and feelings of this movie.
In a world. First of all, God, I don't even know where to start. Okay, I actually quite enjoyed the other three movies. So I went what was the first Godzilla movie you said? 2014. So I went to the theater and saw that. I enjoyed it. I
did too. It was good.
I agree. I was like, I wanted more Godzilla. There was a lot of he's in between buildings, but but that's fine. I did quite enjoy it. It was refreshing take on.
Sorry to interrupt. And watching it today, when did you watch Godzilla just recently?
Yeah.
When you saw the master jumper in that scene at the end of the movie, I just all of a sudden stopped and started laughing out loud because I'm like,
which one was the one with Bryan Cranston?
That was the first Godzilla.
That was the first one.
That was filmed in Vancouver because every actor I see, I'm like, wait a second, that's Police Chief Singh from The Flash. And wait, that's Jared Kelso from Letterkenny. So when he shows up, it's like, we're here, we're going to do this. I just sat there going, I don't believe that you are a Master Chief because I'm ready for you to move up your flannel and start.
Bitter patter, let's get at her.
For Letterkenny, because I was dying of laughter. I had to stop. I'm like, you ruined movies for me now. But yeah, that movie was filmed in Vancouver. So if you're wondering why it looks like Vancouver, it's Vancouver. But yeah, it took me out of the movie. I don't know about you, Rob. When you
I liked it. I still like that movie. I like the visual. I mean, seeing those jumpers, Halo jumpers coming down. And,
that was that was cool.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot.
The red. Yeah.
The red smoke coming out, and you hear that. So I was all down for that. And then Kong Skull Island came out, and again I watched it, and I took my son, and we both quite enjoyed it. Actually, that is his favorite monster movie.
Mhm.
It is a lot of fun.
Mhm.
And then 2019 was Godzilla King of the Monsters, and again we went to the theater to see it, and I quite enjoyed it because listen, you know what you're getting. You know what you're going into. You're going in for fun. You're going in, you want to see a ruckus. You want to see chaos. You want to see Godzilla. Just like Scott, I grew up on this stuff in the 70s and 80s watching this. I watched Kong, is it Kong 82 or 84 with Jeff Bridges? I watched all those Toho Godzilla movies, on Saturday afternoons on WIVB TV and everything else, WUTV in Buffalo. I love those movies and those TV shows and everything else. I remember watching the Godzilla cartoon. I loved all of this stuff. The one thing I was really hoping, the only thing that could have saved this movie was Matthew Broderick reprising his role from the 1998 Godzilla movie. And alas, I'm sorry, everybody, he didn't show up. So now we get to...
That's a lie, because I know what you're thinking. The entire time you're watching this movie, you were just reliving the Beastie Boys music video in your head. And you're like, when are they going to say intergalactic planetary? That's all right, you were doing. And you just doing
totally.
That's true. Forth. I was like, I want to see him. I had my white jumpsuit on and the white helmet. I was like,
you were just like, where is Mixmaster Mike? How do I get this going? And where do I go to do this?
Listen, as long as P. Diddy didn't try to riff off any more Led Zeppelin songs for the soundtrack, I was fine. So here we are now on this movie, and I'm just like Scott said it perfectly. You go in there, you go in, you want to see battles. This is what we got in the last one. Godzilla King of the Monsters was a pure ruckus and mayhem, fighting off all those other titans, and that was a hell of a lot of fun. Like, I loved seeing that. So for me, I was really amped up for this movie. The marketing, Warner Brothers marketing, did it to me again. And I was super stoked, and yet this failed to deliver. Even my son was like, he didn't enjoy it. And that's saying a lot, because generally everything he sees, that's his favorite movie until the next thing he sees.
Was he not a fan, Rob, of the side quest to get the axe? Like, this is just
there's a couple of things I want to point out. You said earlier in this podcast that the futuristic stuff, it didn't bother you, but see, that's where I actually can't stand that shit, because the first one, you can see that they're trying to do what, and I don't want to always draw this parallel, but what Zack Snyder did with Man of Steel is make it real. What would happen if this really occurred, right? And then, I understand, you can kind of see that thread with Kong Skull Island. Obviously, the last movie was a little bit more chaotic, but there was a thorough line between the first and second Godzilla. This one, once you start having Hollow Earth, once you start you're creating spaceships that can change and alter the course of gravity, once you start having like all of these things that just take you out of that sense of realism that they actually tried to work pretty hard to ground these movies in, at that point you've lost your credibility. You asked us as viewers to believe in a world that monsters exist, and then and like Scott, you just disappeared on us.
Snap. It's fine. He'll be back.
So it was really disappointing. There was a lot in there that throughout the movie, there was some beats, and I was thinking, holy shit, they did it again. I feel like WB is doing a lot of things that they keep repeating themselves. And now, I've come to a blank, but the whole thing with, I know what it was. Yes, it was the axe. When Kong is at Middle Earth, I'm just gonna call it Middle Earth because I don't care anymore.
When he was getting Mjolnir as the magic axe, when he was like getting Stormbreaker, I was waiting for. I was waiting for a little like Lannister to show and be like, but my hands are gone. I don't have an axe. Like, I was like,
hurry, boy, grab it. And then he places it in the cutout area, and I was like, shit, didn't we just see this with Diana in Justice League where she had the arrow and she put it in and it explained stuff? I was like, it did the exact same thing. Like, I
was wondering, is Kong the dumbest of his people? Like, the other Kongs could do that. Why was he not able to do it? Like, he's just the dummy that can't speak.
And I also felt that the look of Godzilla, I don't know what he looked worse than he has in the past couple of movies. Like, it looked really really made up. Like it just didn't. It just lost that sense of realism that we kind of had in these last couple of movies, as silly as it sounds, but that's what it was. And so overall, that's 2 movies that WB has asked me to pay for to rent. The first one being Wonder Woman 84, and now this one. And somebody owes me $50.
You know what I think of? I don't know if you watched that old anime, it was called Tasmania or whatever, Down Tasmania. That show where it was based on the Tasmanian devil Taz, and had his regular family, and they all spoke like regular people, and he was doing and his dad's like, well, hello here, son, let's sit down.
Right.
Like, I feel like the rest of Kong's people just speak regular like language, and he's the only one's like, ooh, sign language. Like,
Scott made a good point.
He's like the Tasmanian devil of the
Right.
of the Kongs. Because...
There were some good moments in it though. Like, let's not like, it wasn't like, listen, it wasn't a complete shit movie.
No,
it wasn't a complete waste of time. There are a lot of good fun, and the fight scenes that they do have are fun. Like, that's what you go there for. You sign up for that. You don't, as much as we joke about it not being Bridges of Madison County, you don't go up there, but you expect though, when you've got 3 other movies laying some of a plot. So there is a lot of fun elements. Scott's right. The whole sign language thing was really cool to see. I enjoyed that. I can't remember her name, Jane. Which is obviously harkens back to the original King Kong. So overall, if I was to give it out of 10, I would honestly hard pressed to give it anything more than a 5.5.
To be fair, like, I think when Scott was talking about Godzilla and Kong, is that intrinsically Kong is just like a human as well. He's basically an ape, and the features in terms of emoting, sadness, happiness in the eyes, which they spend some money on. Like, you're looking at Kong's eyes, you're like, wow, like this is like some good CGI. Like, they spent some time to make him emote and give feeling. And like, that's why not all humans love lizards, because lizards are just like blank face staring at you, and you're like, ooh. Like, the lizard can't smile. Like, a lizard doesn't have that flexibility in its face. It's just like a trap, and it just kind of like opens up and down. So if Godzilla was to smile, it would just be like, this is weird. Your mouth isn't supposed to do that. So they had to pick a monster to represent a little bit of humanity and represent like a touch point. And they made the right decision, because Kong was the right choice, because he is, to kind of put like it straightforward, he's a Titan, but the lazy Titan. Like, Kong is just chilling on an island, be like, I'm having a mojito, let me sit back and drink a Corona. And Kong is like, I gotta fight all these mofos up who's gonna take the world over. Because Kong is never showing up when other guys are doing stuff. He's just like, yeah, I'm here, bro. Let me know if you need anything. Like, hold my Cosmopolitan as I sit here, hold my drink, and I'm gonna hang out. So I was
rooting for Kong. I was rooting for Godzilla. I know you asked Scott.
That was my next question.
Godzilla. Yeah. I was rooting for Godzilla. I'm a huge, like, that for me. I was like, take Kong down. Also, he pulled off the Lethal Weapon 2 Mel Gibson, putting his shoulder back in after he dislocated it. I was like, what the hell? Again, another WB movie. I was
going to wait for Scott to come in so you could ask him that question. So we're going to have to wait.
So we'll have to wait.
Like, we'll hold on that. We're going to, I was going to line you up properly with Scott, but
all right,
we'll wait till he comes back. Okay.
He won't know because he's not here. So then you can.
Yeah.
And we're just double back. This doesn't seem very organic anymore. Look at this.
That's okay. Lots of double backing's fine.
Jeez. People looking behind the curtains and seeing how things operate. Andre, what are your thoughts on this movie?
It was something, wasn't it? Like,
it was something. It was something. It was.
Yeah.
I heard the best quote I heard from someone saying, when someone decides to clip the Godzilla and King Kong fights together, it's gonna make one really good 8-minute YouTube clip.
Yeah,
it's gonna be really good. 8 minutes of YouTube, like, it's gonna be stellar. So
you build up the movie just in its title, and you're really expecting this fight, and they do go 2 rounds, but they don't go to the 3rd round, and of course, like any good superhero team up comic where 2 superheroes meet for the first time and fight, they then have to team up to beat an even badder villain. So it was super predictable, while the Mecha Godzilla, it was kind of cool. I really liked how they animated it with the different jets, and it's punching and doing all kinds of, like, there was some neatness in the thought of the visuals of this movie. I'm really, really surprised that you said it's written by the same dude, because all these four movies are just so different.
Mhm.
I remember thinking, at the end credit scene of Skull Island, I remember thinking, oh, hey, this is kind of cool when they start showing you the different files. I'm like, oh, I see where they're going with it. But the two other movies after that, like they don't line up. In this movie, I will freely admit, I had no idea what the rich man was trying to do.
He wanted his own Godzilla.
I'm watching this movie, and like he's like, oh, we need Kong to open up the door to Middle Earth.
Yeah.
To do what?
To get the power source.
Yeah, I know, but how does he know there's a power source there?
Because they could,
you know, like
the scans were giving them the energy signatures. That
yeah,
they were
but
like, we gotta do.
it just felt really convoluted.
To be fair, Andre, this is probably what Elon Musk is planning right now. He's like, to the moon, and I want my own Godzilla.
Yeah,
like,
but you know what the
we don't
problem
know
is?
what the madman is gonna do.
No, but
I wouldn't be surprised if Zuckerberg is like, the next thing I'm gonna build is a mecha Godzilla, and be like, oh, that's where that Facebook money's going.
Yeah.
Like,
this is the problem with that stuff, though, is that you trying to tell me that this guy, he's billionaire, and he's building all these secret and nobody knows about it. Like the government doesn't know. Like you're building up all these secret bases and all this stuff, and nobody has an idea. Like in today's world, that just wouldn't happen. Elon Musk and everything else.
Listen, I don't mind.
This is every Bond movie.
Yeah,
Shut up,
that's
Rob.
different.
Every Bond
That's
movie.
different.
How did
That's
they build an invisible base on a cliffside of a mountain, a volcano? It's like, oh yeah, how did they get that? Don't ask questions. It just happens. How does every Bond villain get the
all right,
money
let
to
Andre
do
go.
this stuff?
Stop.
So I'm stalling for Scott. How does every Bond villain come up with something to do something ridiculous and build some sort of base, moon base, or underwater base, under the water? Like, how does the Bond villain do it? They just do it, Rob. That's what happens. He's just one step from a Bond villain. He needed Sean Connery to step in and be like, what would he say to this guy? Rob, improv time.
He would say, well, it looks like you got yourself a big problem.
Okay, Andre, we're back.
Okay. Yeah, like I think just like a lot of these movies that have either aliens or giant robots or monsters, what ruins this movie are the people.
Yes.
The two plot lines with these people. Like, listen, I don't know what the hell the plot line was with the two teenagers and the caretaker,
Madison Russell. And the other kid was
but like what was the point? Like, cut them out, give more time to
that's
the deaf
plucky
girl
80s movies thing where the two little kids find an insider and then they go in to sneak in the labs this is the 80s movie.
But I get that, but in the 80s you can forgive it for being the 80s. It's 2021 when this movie comes out. It's just bad and stupid, and you're following two different sets of humans, and neither of them are doing anything.
The fans of Stranger Things say otherwise. That's an 80s ripoff all the way. And people
I get
love that crap.
But anyways, I think that plot line to me was the worst. Maybe they were contractually obligated to have her. Is it Billy Haley?
Millie Bobby Brown.
Millie Bobby Brown.
Don't piss off.
Don't do that.
Don't do it. Don't. We love her. Don't piss off the
views
army.
expressed in this podcast.
Listen,
don't piss off the army.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with
you. Want to piss off the beehive like as well, like we're doing it. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Listen,
don't do it.
No, not necessary in the movie. That plot line, that thread, not necessary in the movie.
Do you know what's not necessary? Kyle Chandler. Why was he doing there at all?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. These different parts, like it to me, it took away. They should have spent a little bit more time with the deaf girl, and maybe how is it that nobody noticed on domed in Skull Island that Kong could sign? Nobody noticed it. Like, are you guys not observing this guy?
Apparently not. No.
Yeah, cameras everywhere.
But they didn't, anyways, crazy.
Rebecca Hall's not a good scientist. Let's just she wasn't good in Iron Man.
No, she's also not a good mother. She's not a good mother either. Because let me tell you something. As a parent, I wouldn't be like, somebody tells me, hey, we can go on this magical sub and we're going to invert gravity. And it didn't work out for my brother, but we're thinking things are going to be okay right now. I might be like, come
was
on,
that her
kids,
kid,
let's go
though?
on an adventure.
No, that's her kid.
She's a
No, she
guardian.
adopted.
Yeah.
She adopted.
Right?
Yeah.
The parents died.
Doesn't make a difference.
All
You're
the
still
tribe
not-
people on Skull Island died when they're fooling around with the geometrics of the island. So they build the Hunger Games dome on top with the same technology they use for Hunger Games. Because I'm watching like, oh, that seems about right. Including making a spear. I was waiting for him to do like the thing upwards. He's like the thing is like to throw and like take out other monsters or whatever. The three, yes, the three.
Yeah.
So like I was waiting for that Hunger Games thing to come in. I'm like, what's going on here? So yeah, she adopted the little girl because the parents died in the monsoon that's happening outside of Monster Island. So yeah,
But
Andre.
This movie, you know,
and we didn't even talk about Mr. Starscart himself, who is just terrible in this movie. Like for 5 minutes, I was like, oh, you're kind of cool, and the rest, you're a dope.
Yeah,
he was awful.
Again, no, like again, lose the humans. It's just like, you know, unfortunately, if you go back and you look at like most of the Transformer Michael Bay movies, they're funny, they're action packed, but the human part just kills it. You're just so cringy. You're just like, just get off the screen. We want to see Transformers transform and do robot things. We do not need this piss poor written, piss poor acted, you know, human stuff. Again, if you want to make it human centric, then you've got to go back and do it like Kong Skull Island. Like some of those guys, you got some story with them and you felt for them as they're like in this different land. But this, they were literally just, I don't know. And even like, you know, the father from the previous movie,
Kyle Chandler. Yeah.
You're like, what was the point of him? What did he do in this movie? Like
cashing them checks, son. Cashing them checks.
Made two phone calls.
They did nothing. They're like, let's evacuate Hong Kong. Well, nobody left. Nobody got that message. Like they got there faster than people are still shopping really with shopping bags. I'm like, what is going on, right?
I also like, how did Monarch become the most secret like shield organization in this movie? They're like, yeah, you're nothing. Apex is now in charge. I'm like, what happened? That Monarch, you're supposed to be this powerhouse. And then even in the last movie, like, oh, you guys are running the world. You're like a secret society. And in this movie, it's like, oh, some basic Amazon guy, like Steve Bezos guy, just basically built a giant mecha robot, and you guys don't know anything of it. Yeah. It's like, oh, that's what happened to you guys. Aren't you supposed to be like the guys? So the Monarch showed up for 5 minutes in this movie at the beginning. The guy shows up, is like, what do we do? We have to move Kong. Yep, we gotta move Kong, and then never shows up again. The whole entire movie.
Monarch's like, here, hold my beer, and all of a sudden it's Pacific Rim tie-in.
But you know what? Like, see, I'm glad you mentioned that because I watched this movie and I listened to people saying, oh, it's good, it's exciting, it's this and that. And then these same people were poo-pooing Pacific Rim 2. I'm like, Pacific Rim
2 is awful. Awful. 100% awful.
No, wait, not compared to this. This Pacific Rim 2 is like Masterpiece Theater compared to this. No way. No, you know what?
I'm sorry.
No,
I'm not taking that far.
Pacific Rim 1 is a masterpiece.
You guys are out of your mind if you think this Godzilla movie was better than Pacific Rim 2.
100%.
You're out of your mind.
100%.
Listen, the humans
Rim
in
1,
it had a point. They had multiple mechs and multiple kaijus bad freaking mechs and a story, an actual story.
But that doesn't
there was
mean
no story in this one.
It doesn't mean anything because Pacific Rim for 1 didn't have a story, and I didn't care. Pacific Rim
would be a great movie.
Worse storyline than this movie. Pacific Rim 1, as you talk, Scott,
had a worse story than this.
Dude, it's the most thinnest storyline.
They've got 4 movies like you told us. 4, and they still didn't get a coherent movie. Pacific Rim was like, yeah, this is what happened. This is where the monsters come, and we're going to fight them. You didn't expect the story. You didn't get it. You got crazy action. You got crazy cool mechs. The second one, they went more kid-friendly, but you got crazy, even crazier mechs, multiple mechs fighting. Anyways, way better than whatever this trash was. Honestly.
Why? Because Pacific Rim 2 cheated. Because Pacific Rim 1 was set up by one of the most visualistic directors that's working right now, and Guillermo del Toro set the tone, set the universe, set the look, set the soundtrack. That soundtrack that plays in that movie Pacific Rim I will play that any time of day just to get hyped. I was watching Pacific Rim before the start. I'm like, holy cow, the songs just the instrumental is boss, and all the fight buildups are awesome, and it does a really good job of showing scale. They look big, they feel big. The camera angles when you see Pacific Rim 1, it's like, oh, these are big monsters, these are big things. You understand what it's gargantuan and the gravitas of like buildings moving.
Arguing with you that
Pacific Rim 2 did not have any of those things. Pacific Rim was a waste.
Pacific Rim 2 was better than this.
No, because this one, at least, same with Kong and Godzilla when they're fighting at the end, which I say the third act is so good. That third act is where I wish I was in the movie theater. We could have been there, Andre, you and me, watching it with popcorn, seeing that in a theater with the surround sound and the being big and hearing that Godzilla roar in the background. That is an experience that would be unmatched because it's way better than anything that happens in Pacific Rim 2.
You know what? We're gonna have to
that fight alone is better than everything else.
I saw Pacific Rim 2 in the theater. I own it on Steelbook Blu-ray. It's a better, more enjoyable flick than this. This film delivered, like you guys said, a very cool middle fight scene and a cool end fight scene where we team up. But everything else, all the connective tissue doesn't connect anything. And then you get this really cool jaunt to the journey to the center of the earth.
Yeah.
And there's mountains on the top, mountains on the bottom, yet there's still somehow a horizon. Did you guys notice that? You're like, wow, why is it
Did you not see Brendan Fraser waving in the horizon? Like, that's what happened.
What's going on? The Rock
he was at the journey of the center of the earth. It was him, Brendan Fraser, waving and be like, hey guys, I'm here.
And the Rock was on the other side.
And the Rock,
the Rock and Brendan Fraser. So
anyways, this movie again failed on the sound effects of Kong roaring and Godzilla screeching.
Way better.
They were wicked. That's, if that's all you want from your price of admission, you definitely got it, right? That was cool. But you got to cut out every other scene where those monsters are not fighting something.
I will never rewatch Pacific Rim 2.
That's cool, dude. That's cool.
I will never. But I would watch Kong versus Godzilla.
I would, like I said, different tastes, different people.
That's fine.
I've watched lots.
We're gonna ask you the question, Andre. Who do you care for, Kong or Godzilla? Who did you care about
in this movie?
Yeah. Well, who did you want to win?
I wanted Godzilla to win, but I knew Kong was the one that they were building up because if you think about it, Godzilla was the one that was trying to protect the Earth. Like you said, Kong is just chilling, and they jack the guy out of his home. Like Godzilla, if the movie explained it, he's like, he attacks the first base because they're doing something wrong. Then he attacks the second base because he Mecha Godzilla powers up. So he's doing what they say these Titans are supposed to do, right?
Fight.
And then somehow magically, how did he blast his breath down to the center of the earth wide enough that Kong could climb out and the spaceships could come up? Like, again, it's just so much bonkers. It's so bonkers. Like, again, you got to suspend your disbelief. You just go, like you said, it's almost too much. Like, I was like, hey, they actually got a underground rail from Florida to Hong Kong. I'm like, oh, okay.
But I think her dad still beat her to Hong Kong, I think.
He did.
I'm like, what is going on?
That's because he had a slingshot and he Acme on the side of it and they let go and he was just like flying.
Oh my God.
No, Rob, don't. He had one of his football players throw him. Ray Voodoo himself throw him.
He was actually using his cigarette boat from Bloodline. He took it from the resort and off he went.
Aldous Huge from Star Trek and Supernatural fame. That's all I know him from. But
Godzilla won. Godzilla beat Kong 3-1.
The card is not even. It's like not even. The card is over.
He wins. He wins
hands down.
At what point? How do you guys figure that when Godzilla had his foot on Kong? And he
tapped out pretty much. He's like,
yeah.
And he was basically dead. He was basically dead.
And then they had to jumpstart his heart by just dropping electricity on him. And then he had to overcharge the axe so that Godzilla could get the killing blow. So, and also Kong could get the killing blow. Godzilla took way more shots from Mecha Godzilla than Kong did.
100%.
Right? So
100%.
Kong was
like
the
missiles.
Yeah.
was secondary, you know, like
Kong is like basically all the guys you play first person shooters just took the kill. You'd be like, I did all the work. You just sniped my job. All you did, like you just sat there and waited till the guy was at no life and you took the guy down. You're a jerk.
That was like Street Fighter 2 in the arcade. You're like, oh, that was so cheap. That was so cheap.
They were like, he cheated at tag team wrestling, right?
Yeah.
Like he was cheating.
Yep,
Came in from
100%.
behind, off the top rope.
Yeah. When
Well,
he runs and he kicks off the building
Yeah.
and he comes down and I was like,
I think Kong is more of the goes on the mat, grabs something from his pants, which is basically dust, throws it in the guy's eyes, and he's like, oh, I can't see, and then pins him. That's more of, you know, the old school wrestling. Oh, he's grabbing something in his pants. What could it be? Oh, it's some sort of sand, and that's what it was.
And
so
did you guys notice when Kong was in Middle Earth, while he's running along Middle Earth, he's actually moving like he does. But then once he opens the door, he starts walking erect.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this guy learned pretty fast. And then he sits on the thing like he's just like a boss. He's like, I am
he
the
had
king.
a throne in the other
This is
movie
my
as
axe.
well.
Yes.
He had a throne in the other movie too, so it's not like he
It's
doesn't know
true.
what chair is. So
I guess I forgot the other movie, I guess. But I just found it funny. I'm like, how come he's just walking like up? Like, anyways.
who chiseled the throne in Middle Earth?
It's a
the
sequel.
other Kongs,
It's-
I told you, the other Kongs are
And they
smart.
made doors that only open one way. Genius.
The other Kongs made the society, and he is like the reverse Gorilla Grodd. Like he is like Gorilla City, the dumb one, and everyone else is like a society with laser guns and like flying ships. Can we not also talk about the fact that Godra, the space alien, just knew how to use all the weapons on a mechanized Godzilla?
Yeah. Where did that
We
come
can talk
from?
about that is the Rey Star
Launch?
Wars. I know the Force thing, but Scott, go for it. I know you're holding go.
Yeah. I thought the same thing. It's like, okay, I get it. He's in a monster. Okay, he's gonna bite, he's gonna whip his tail, he's gonna punch. How does he know how to launch the missiles? Or I mean, I guess the breath, I guess you could, yeah, you know, the kaiju have breath weapons, you know, that
I don't think Godra
the
had
missiles?
flame weapons, did he? I can't remember.
well, like
You
the
know,
missiles were
It
like
didn't
Yeah, he
even
did.
it didn't even make it that clear that that's what was going on. Like I knew they did the short circuit thing, and I'm like, oh, is this thing just running on autopilot now? Or
No, the
or,
visual
like,
screen.
Well,
showed
it
the
looked like
alien
a
head.
PSVR. He was a PSVR with giant LED tubes coming out.
Because
And I was like, I didn't understand how he's connected into Ghidorah because it was just his skull.
they
yeah, they
no,
said
communicate
something that it was a
telepathically.
supercomputer or something, and I'm just like, what kind of jargon? Like, what is going on? You know,
And
like,
everybody was sweaty. Everybody was sweaty. That guy was always sweating. The engineer guy with the podcaster, he was always sweating. Everybody was sweating about what the hell during this entire movie. And I was like, yeah, turn the lights down or turn the cooling up because everybody was pouring sweat.
he was in Florida half the time, and then went to Hong Kong. The humidity, bro. You're not world traveling.
And I love it. I love how Stellan Skarsgård gives the puke bag to the girl. She's like, "What's this for?" And he's like, "Puke." And I'm thinking, "Oh, wicked, we're gonna see a puke scene." She didn't even open it.
Yeah.
She didn't even open it. And then so my son's sitting there and we're watching it, and she's like, "Did that monkey just speak?" And he turns to me, he goes, monkeys aren't gorillas. Like, does she not understand that he's more of a gorilla?" And I was like, I don't know, bro. I don't know.
He's got a wicked right hook though.
Hey, Scott, can I ask you from
yeah. Well, I was gonna.
okay, you're gonna go ahead. Go ahead, Stu.
No. I was gonna say, like, you know, before I tee you up, Rob. They did line up in the last movie that Godra is an alien that crash landed on the planet. So it's like, oh, this is a monster that's not from here. It crash landed, and that's why it has 3 heads and da da da. And then they're like, okay, they relied on you to realize that from the last movie that makes sense. And then part 2 is that that's why they had the giant skull there to remind you this is where they're going. And then when you went inside, it was all connected to the VR head site. And then there was another monitor showing the alien head, a line connecting to the robot Godzilla to show like how far things were going in a visual nature, because that's what you always have in any technical position, is to show, you know, one line to the other of heads to heads. I'm sure that's how all medical equipment works, Scott. When you're in the hospital, you just see one head to the other head in a line that just moves back and forth only to succession rates back and forth to show you how things work. So
if it were only that easy.
Yeah.
So speaking of other medical issues, Rob, give us your medical thoughts on this.
So I'm really glad we have a medical professional because
Oh boy.
Ever since 1988, when Mel Gibson Martin Riggs dislocated his shoulder and needed to, and he won a bet and he popped it back in by slamming it into a filing cabinet, which in the 80s were pure metal, and was a great plot point because it allowed him to get out of the straitjacket under the water. I always assume that that's probably not the best way to put if you dislocate your shoulder, to slam it up against something. But then I saw King Kong did it in this movie up against so what I'm asking, I guess, Scott, is if I was to dislocate my shoulder, is this the best method in which to put it back in?
I mean, the ortho guys will have me on this one, and I don't know how many orthopods we have watching the podcast. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure it actually has to go more out and straight than up and in. So I don't. I mean, I think you could probably do that, but like if you see them, like when they realign like joints and stuff like that, it's usually a bunch of, hey, look over there, and they, yank it out at like an angle to like realign. It's not like a push it in. It's more like a pull it out and let it go back in. But
wait, no. We're talking about dislocation, not about the OBGYN community. Come on, damn it, Scott. You give me
To be fair, Kong kind of moved out, then moved position shoulder, and then knocked in. So maybe
he was dancing. He was Zemo fist pumping.
Maybe he was like, Zemo. To be fair, yeah, like the way he didn't just go straight in. He maybe might have moved in and shoved in to like, again, the other gorillas in the community who are well educated probably taught him that mechanism, and he just.
So what you're saying, Scott, is that that's not the best method to put your shoulder back in?
No, and I don't think that's. I'm trying to figure out why, like a giant kaiju gorilla would be able to figure that out. But hey, the boat didn't sink either, right?
If Martin Riggs could figure it out, King Kong can figure it out.
and he knows words like coward and home and fear. So these are things that somehow Kong understands all those things, and no one else knows that he knows what a coward is. So these are good things. Okay, so as we continue on, I want to get your thoughts on a few musings away. So apparently, podcasts are the future. So apparently, all we have to do is we want to be in on conspiracies. If you had to come up with a conspiracy show, Rob, what conspiracy show would you have, and what would you hope that it would be the truth on? So if you could do this whole scenario, relive it, but your conspiracy show was true, what would that conspiracy be?
My conspiracy would be that Andre Greenridge's.
Oh, look, he's cut off. It's Whoa, proof of life. What happened?
Wait, you guys can't hear me?
You cut out.
Right when you said Andre Green, I bleeped it out.
I was like,
that was amazing.
God, this is a perfect bit.
That was amazing.
Well, you guys didn't hear it? Oh, well, I've already said it. So,
all right, there we go.
Okay.
Wow, that was perfect. I don't even want to know your real answer. Andre, if you had a conspiracy podcast, what would it be, and what would it be like? And
I can't wait to rewatch this.
And what
I would obviously pick something from the X-Files. The truth is out there. I want to know the conspiracy from.
So you would have an X-Files podcast, but what would the conspiracy be that you hope to be real? So you're talking about it, and you're like, oh no, this is a real thing.
Oh yeah, that there's aliens, and that the government has been hiding that. Like they're hiding the truth.
Okay, Scott.
I think I'd go one even more basic than that. Superheroes are real and they're hiding, and we're gonna find them.
There you go.
Okay. All right. There we go. So these are our podcast ideas outside of Rob, which Rob has been redacted apparently by Andre. So,
yes.
so something happened.
Rob, you cannot reveal the truth about me. I told you in confidence, man. You can't be telling my secrets. Come on now.
Although unfortunately, like the internet under the cupboard is terrible. So now I can't make fun of Rob anymore or John when their internet goes out.
Yeah, Scott had to talk with the higher ups. So unknown questions. We talked about technology. I think we touched about before. How did a world with no technology within 4 years get enough technology to build hovercrafts, mechanized robots, and all that stuff? Because based on the movie, we should already have this stuff already. Can anyone give me any type of idea how we could have generated this technology this fast? Does anyone have a theory?
Time travel.
I mean, they were studying the alien, right? What's his name? So maybe some amazing breakthrough, although that doesn't explain why the entire world now has buildings and boats but telepathic three-headed alien.
Okay. Andre, any thoughts?
Space wizards.
Sorcerers or wizards?
Yep. What is it? Robots, aliens, or wizards and wizards. Okay. My other question is, what happened to Alan Jonah, aka Charles Dance, aka Benedict, aka Tywin Lannister? He was the big bad guy of the last movie, and he just disappeared. Anyone know anything? Did he die? I thought he didn't die.
Yeah, he died.
Did he die
in the last movie? Yeah.
I thought he didn't die. I thought he made it out alive.
No, I think he died.
Okay,
Didn't he?
No,
he didn't.
I think he made it out.
He made it out. The last shot, him leaving the thing, going somewhere else. He's like, yeah, okay, cool. He left. No, he didn't die.
I think he was shot while taking a dump on the toilet by Millie Bobby Brown.
Okay. We'll think about that. But yeah, technically he's still alive.
Movie number 5, right?
Yeah. Movie number 5.
He brings back Monarch.
That's gonna be a question coming up soon. Don't worry. I'll give you the. Yeah. So I'll move on to movie questions. Scott, what was your favorite part of this movie? What was your favorite part of Godzilla versus Kong?
The right hook on the boat, 100%. When they're both on that giant and Kong Godzilla, I think, pulls himself up and Kong just, whoo! That's my favorite part.
Awesome. Rob?
Yeah, I have to say, I probably agree with Scott. So if I'm going to pick a different, listen, every time I hear Godzilla's scream, I just love it. I love that his roar, his scream. So anytime I can get that, and him firing off his, and again, he didn't do it like in the last couple of movies. You had that buildup of the scales of like the charging up, right? And you would and you're like, oh my god, it's gonna let go.
This is just like a
prom night. I was like, oh no, I'm tired.
Rob, this is just like Avengers Assemble. You're just waiting for the right time to say it. You just can't give it away. You just can't give it away. You gotta wait.
So I was just but listen, the fight. Pick any of the fight scenes. Listen, they were all well done. So I'll just go with the fight scene where he was on top of Kong at the end and he had his feet and he was like, say my name, bitch. And that was it. So that was my favorite part.
Andre?
Like I said before, probably Godzilla versus Mecha Godzilla, because even though Godzilla's getting his ass kicked, like the movement of the mecha with the different thrusters and how the thing moved, it was pretty cool. Like again, very well done visually.
Okay, so now I jump to the other side of the coin. What was the worst part of this movie, Scott? I don't want you to say humans. What is the actual worst part where you sat there at a scene going, ugh?
I think that kid putting, typing in 1 2 3 4 5 for the password 4 times, and then pouring the what is it, the rum, or I don't know what was in there.
Yeah.
And then suddenly that solved it.
Rob?
Yeah, that was pretty bad. You're right. I forgot about that. He's like, I don't understand why it's not working. He's like, wait, give me the hot. Success. What that shows kids is that booze fixes all ailments. That's what we learned. The worst for me, if we can't pick the humans,
You
No,
can
you
pick
just
a
have
human.
to be more
You
specific.
have to be specific. You have
Yeah,
to pick
not
a
just the
scene.
humans.
You just because the default is anytime a human's on screen, it's bad. But give me
Okay,
a
well, you know what? The Mecha Godzilla all of a sudden becoming sentient, being disconnected from his pilot, and all of a sudden becoming sentient and understanding and knowing what to do. That to me, I was like, wait, what? Like, I don't like. What are you talking about? How does it know all? Like, where you're just a binary program. Like, does anybody not have an off switch? As a side note, when Godzilla and Kong were pulling on him, and all of a sudden fluid starts pouring, my son's like, wait a minute, it's a machine. He doesn't have blood. I'm like, no, he just has lots of oil to make those gears and levers run smoothly, man. He's like full of oil. So that was just ridiculous.
Andre.
So I'm gonna pick another scene with the human children's when they steal the dude's brother's van, and they're like, we gotta find this podcast guy, and because he uses bleach, we're gonna track down bleach, and we're gonna go to this one store where they buy a lot of bleach, and I'm gonna ask the clerk if he remembers a dude who buys a lot of bleach, and then we're gonna find his house. Whatever. And then the guy from the podcast answers the door. Again, like what? Like he's got a camera right there. He doesn't know these people from Adam. You know, he's supposed to be this conspiracy, not this. You know, like. Anyways, that was just awful. Like just awful.
Wait, was that worse when they figured out though the code with the matchbooks? He's in Unit 305. Like that was even like. First of all, who has matchbooks anymore?
It's interesting. As I briefly talked about soundtracks, how disappointed am I in this movie of the lack of soundtrack or music in this? Like the entire movie, I'm listening. I'm like, is there anything worth like? There's so much, as you guys talked about your love for watching old Godzilla. There's old music you could just redub. You know, you can just do any of that. You can remaster. You could. I know Rob's boy, Mr. Junkie, can, you know, make some music for this. Anything whatsoever. Like rewatching Godzilla, the first one with 2014, I'm like, wow, the soundtrack's decent. Like it's fine, but there's nothing in this movie at all. I'm just going like really boring. Like they just took boring choices.
I don't even remember any music. Was there? There was music, right? There. I mean, I know the van had music when you pulled up. That was the last music I remember.
There's music. Like, there's music when Kong is going through the jungle. There's like music at the beginning and the end. That's like registered like music, but not like Pacific Rim soundtrack music. Like anything that
it's very unrememberable. Like it's unremarkable. You're like, even during that last fight scene, I think that's one of the things with this movie too. I don't think this movie had time to appreciate what was on the screen. You know, there was always like either dialogue over it. Like they didn't just enjoy the setting of the monsters going around. It didn't feel it. Yeah. While it was visual, it didn't just pull me in and go, yeah, this is just a beautiful film to look at in this particular scene. And like I said, the fight scene was great, but you're paying attention to the sound effects and the crunching and all that. The score doesn't do anything. Your blood is not rushing and pumping or whatever, right? So yeah, you're right. It was I would say a very timid score, if that, you know?
Yeah.
It's one of those things where people grabbed, like, I guess, harped on some of the original MCU movies because the soundtrack, the music wasn't very memorable. But you watch those movies enough times that it just keep on bringing it back, and you're like, oh yeah, the music is memorable because eventually they just keep on bringing it back over and over with a new twist on it. And I look at this movie and I'm like, if this was shared universe, don't you guys have like a shared theme of like, isn't there a Godzilla song? Like when Godzilla shows up, you kind of hear a little bit of the rumbling of Godzilla, but it's not like the Winter Soldier screech that happens when you're like, oh, the Winter Soldier is here. Like, oh, Captain America's here. Like, there's no signifying tune of either Godzilla or Kong.
Let me just tell you, I was just looking up on Wikipedia, which may be incorrect, but apparently Junkie XM did do the film score for this movie. The XL, sorry.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Wow.
I'm gonna have to rewatch it to even remember any music.
That was just a joke, and wow, that was hilarious. The Junkie XL did. Yeah, you're right. It's a thing. Wow.
Wow. Okay.
Okay, I was making a joke and it became real. So, all right, that was unintentional. So we talked a little bit about. Oh, weird. We talked about the MonsterVerse. So the big question to you, Scott, is what's next? Now that this movie is done, what the heck do they do next? Like, what is the next chapter in this MonsterVerse? Because that was a pretty definitive. We've all discussed that Kong is just there and Godzilla is the king of monsters. We've pretty much, he beat him every single time to the ground. So it wasn't even fair. Kong had humans to help him. So by default, he needed people to, throw him back into the ring. So what was their next? They just keep on going with Kong or King Godzilla, because MonsterVerse is pretty much only two people right now. It's either Godzilla or Kong. There's not another monster they add to the MonsterVerse. Like, I don't know if there's anything else you can do besides those two.
I mean, unless you do like a family rom-com where Kong meets his family, like a Crudes type Kong crossover.
John would have turned to John.
John would have it as a romantic comedy where Kong and Godzilla's daughter and son were to go on a date.
Right.
And then they would have to figure this out and like, oh my God, your dad's King Kong. Oh my God, your dad's Godzilla. That's the John Hell reference of the day.
Or just, create another giant kaiju titan for one of them and just pit them in a ring together and have them punch, don't overthink it.
Rob, do you have any ideas of the future of the MonsterVerse?
Well, it's interesting because the director, Adam Wingard, said the reason that there's no post or mid-credits scene is because he doesn't know what the future is of this monster universe. Every other film preceding it has had a mid and post-credit scene building up this universe, even though some of the people on this panel didn't realize. So I don't know what the future is. I'm sitting here thinking, well, do they get something from outer space to come in? But I think if you were going to continue this franchise, you actually need to go back to its original roots of making to be a bit more grounded. And now I don't know how you do that. How do you put the toothpaste back in the tube when you've introduced all these extra monsters? In the third movie, Godzilla destroyed the rest of the Titans. Now there are some still, I think, that are in isolation or
Mothra's still around,
whatever.
Mothra's egg.
Yeah. So there is a potential for another monster, but I kind of feel like you blew your wad on this one and now you're done. Like, how do you make it relevant again? And I don't think that you can. So I think it's time for Godzilla to be done, unfortunately, because I love Godzilla, and maybe go back to, and let's see what happens in Japanese Toho Godzilla and how because they've had 20 something movies, so maybe we can mine one of their ideas. I don't know.
So this brings up Andre, what are your thoughts before I jump to the next one?
Godzuki.
Could you please expand that? But let's add one word.
You guys don't remember the Godzilla cartoon? It's Godzilla and Godzuki. So we go and we find out Godzilla all this time has been protecting his offspring, and that's the sequel of him showing his offspring how to Godzilla around. So it's just him trampling. This is how you smash a building, son. This is how you tear apart a boat, son. This is how you blast your fire breath into a King Kong, son. So he's passing the torch on to his son because he's going down. So Godzuki, that's the next one.
You know what it is? I think you take that because it's a Warner Brothers production. You take Godzuki and you make it a flashpoint, and he has to go back in time to 1998 Godzilla with Matthew Broderick, and they have to combine all the Godzillas and battle together to then.
That Godzilla movie was so bad, I fell asleep in the theater.
You could do, what about like a Young Avengers? It could be like the young kaijus. You get like a Godzuki, you get like a Mothra.
Are they size of a Rob? Are they the size of a minivan? Is that how they're mini Avengers? Like, do you just have a smaller scale? Like maybe they're not that big and they're just size of a Buick, and you'd be like, they're kind of like a little smaller, and then they're dealing with a smaller like tanks and stuff. Like this is how they're gonna do it. Like, You know, they're not big.
And they have a chip implanted that gives them voice so they can speak. So then you get like John Leguizamo to do the voice of one. Right? What do you do?
Don't let us in the idea room.
Well, this might be better than the movie we just watched. I don't know why you're
young kaijus.
Young kaijus. Here's the thing. On the last
Disney
podcast,
Plus.
Andre and myself and Rob were all giddy with the way that the Falcon and Winter Soldier integrated all the past characters. And Andre was like, look, you can integrate past people. You don't have to tell anything about it. This was that movie, Andre. They brought in Millie Bobby Brown, and you saw her in the last movie, so you don't have to remind you who she is. She's just all of a sudden here. Look,
but what did she do? But literally, what did she do in this movie that you brought her back into this movie? Like, I remember her distinctly surviving the fight in the baseball stadium and all that. But I'm like, okay, but now what did she do? Like, she went from somewhere to Florida, then to Hong Kong, and then she tried to call her dad to tell her dad something, and he had no cell service.
Yeah.
And then that was it. So it was like,
he was there.
Bring a character back.
He was
bring
there.
Him back for a point.
Yeah, she was contractually obligated.
She was the Bilbo Baggins of the story, because Samwise Gamgee, the real star of the show, the man who pours the alcohol on the thing, that was the real moment of this movie. Without her,
he needed to get there.
Julian wouldn't have been there, or the guy from Deadpool 2 wouldn't have typed 1, 2, 3 in the box, and wouldn't have poured the alcohol, and then we would have all been destroyed.
Yeah.
So she needed the burden to carry another character to that spot so he could do the thing, because all he knows is HTML.
How cringeworthy was that scene where they walked out of their little car and then they walked into like a gladiator thing, and then they were in the middle of the gladiator thing, and the beast was running at them or whatever. I'm like, why didn't you guys just stay close to the doorway or whatever?
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, I know that guy from work.
Man.
Yeah.
So bad.
But you know what? Andre makes a really good point, and I know Andre's mentioned it, Scott's mentioned it. And it's that, you know, and I know is the acting and the humans. And I was going back quickly looking at the previous cast, even the last movie, and I was like, you had some decent actors on there. Like, if you have to, for us as humans, because that's what we are, we have to be able to relate to some portions of the movie. Otherwise, it's just a monster mash and you don't really give a shit. But there has to be some type of the story has to be told to us through their eyes, right? You can't watch this movie through the eyes of the monsters. You have to, our gateway to this movie, this plot has to be through the human characters. And we've had that in those past 3 movies. And in this one, we didn't have that. So it's very hard for us to be able to have any kind of connective tissue, because we can't be watching it through the eyes of these monsters. And so I feel like maybe Millie Bobby Brown was in there and Kyle Chandler because of contractual obligations. Like, shit, we signed up. We got to like do it. And, give me the check and that's it. Like, that was... And it's just it's crappy because, look at that last movie. You had Bradley Whitford, you had Thomas Middlechurch, you had, as you mentioned before, Stu, you had Charles Dance. Like, you had, Vera, whatever, Vermeer. Like, you had some good talent who were in a monster movie. Like, and
we had Bryan Cranston. They killed Bryan Cranston. What are you doing? Why are you killing Bryan Cranston? Put him in a coma. Bring him up later. Like, he had to die? What? Like, put him in.
They can retcon that, can't they?
It was a coma. I was like, well, first of all, like, they didn't even bring back the other character at all. Like, this soldier who was like a bomb expert, who was frankly really cool in the first movie.
Yeah.
Like, we never see him again. So not like maybe.
Well, he doesn't do sequels. He doesn't do sequels. That's his thing. So he doesn't.
He's contractually obligated to do sequels, so it doesn't matter what he says. He was in Kick-Ass too. So people,
nobody saw that. Doesn't exist. Yeah, so that it's just it's just too bad. It's just it really just sucks.
Yeah,
that's all I have to say.
Like Center Earth or Middle Earth or Inner Core or Center of the Middle Earth or Journey to the Earth, whatever it's going to be.
Journey to the middle of the Center Core Earth.
This is the core.
Temptation Core Island.
Temptation.
Yes.
This is where the future is. These are where the monsters are going to go. Let's just can they just rebrand it the Savage Land and let's just
Yeah.
get over with it?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Do that. Let's
Sorry, do you know what I thought about when they went to the Middle Earth thing? I was like, holy shit, I swear we saw this in Ice Age, Dawn of the Dinosaurs. It is the exact same plot of that Ice Age
Right?
movie. And if Scott's got kids,
Yeah, totally.
It's the exact. I was waiting for Simon Pegg to come out as the one-eyed sloth carol. I was like, come on! It is the exact same movie.
Like
that whole
Hidden
sequence,
Land,
so.
right? Yeah.
We have Manipur now, so I'm waiting for the Savage Land, and that's the next thing I'm looking forward to, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and maybe Kong will be in the background waving, just like we saw Brendan Fraser wave in the background in this movie. So
With his bad shoulder, like, oh no, because he didn't put it back in.
He's gonna wave like the Queen. He's gonna wave like the Queen. He's like, this thing's wreck. Wait till my gorilla doctor sees this. My insurance is not gonna cover it. I haven't been here in 50 years. How does gorilla insurance work in the middle of center Earth? So very difficult.
Any movie that makes Rampage look better, you know you have a problem. So we should all go.
Definitely was better than this.
No.
It was more
I would
fun.
watch Rampage again over watching this.
Rampage.
I mean, it's got The Rock.
Yeah, but The Rock's been in a lot of bad movies.
And it also has a gorilla that does this. So come on.
Yeah.
I mean, right there.
Another signing gorilla.
That's right.
Dirty
Repeat.
signing gorilla.
Yeah, that's
Perfect.
terrible.
Right
Okay,
up my alley.
so as we're starting to wrap this up, we've entered the zone of just inappropriate things, and I would like to keep Scott employed. So these are things that we're going to continue on. So our final thoughts here, Scott. Would you recommend that people watch this movie?
You know, I would say if you
Scott, if so, what are the conditions? Because I feel like you're going to say conditions next.
You're right. Overall, I would say I would recommend it. I enjoyed it. I had a good time with the expectation of watching two big Titan kaiju monsters punching each other. Maybe not enough, but I think enough, with the middle and the end to make it worthwhile.
What would you have to be doing to watch the movie? Like, are you going to say like you need to cook? Is this an undivided attention movie, or like, because you are a special case, but what is the circumstance that someone that maybe is not in love with robots and giant kaiju, what do they have to do in order to watch this movie?
A reasonable drink and the wife and kids are in bed, because that's sort of what I did. Perfect. Thank you.
That's perfect. Rob?
Listen, if anybody is wondering whether they're watching this, wondering whether or not they should spend their money, if you're in Canada, renting it for $25, you know what? I say wait until it comes out on Crave, September, maybe October at the latest. So you can wait the 4 months. You're not going to be longing for context on that movie. Just wait. It's worth a watch. Once it's free for you to watch, if you're a Crave subscriber, then you could do a lot worse. You could do, I don't know, Wonder Woman 84 worse. So definitely wait for it, but I would not recommend paying the $25 right now to see it.
And what are the conditions for you if you were to recommend to people to watch it?
Smoke a bowl. Smoke a bowl, have some munchies next to you, and turn off the brain. Oh, and also, put away the phone as well. You might as well, if you're going to watch it, you might as well just watch the whole thing. So,
Andre?
I don't think anybody should watch this unless they've watched the other ones. And they happen to be in the United States and they're watching on HBO for free. If you have to pay money, I would not recommend doing so. We did it. And here's one of the things, like I don't mind the cost of the movies. Like a lot of people are complaining, $25-$30 to watch a movie. It's not a bad price if you've got a household that's going to watch it.
Yeah.
But I just watched it with me and the wife. And I don't think we got our entertainment value out of it. And I don't see this appealing, like this version of the movie really appealing to like a family. I don't know. No. I think there's not enough action and all the other plot stuff is so poorly constructed that you could, like I said, if I couldn't follow it, you know, like I don't know if kids are going to follow it. So maybe if you wanted to watch it and fast forward those scenes that don't make sense, just watch the, like you said, the best YouTube clip of putting those fights together. But even if you're a family of 6, I don't know if this is worth $25.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a really weird combination because, as we've discovered, it's really hard to make a movie with global appeal, to make a movie that everyone in the world wants to watch. And especially with these kaiju movies, like, there is a different mentality when watching a Godzilla movie. It's very geared towards a different community of people and culture and background. And when you watch a Godzilla movie that's clearly made from Americans' perspectives or Western, it's a very different movie. We didn't really touch upon that today, but like, I'll leave you all to think about that at home. It's like, there's a reason why most movies from foreign markets don't necessarily do well here, because oftentimes it's a foreign language, that being people don't want to read subtitles, but B, it's a very different movie. And the North American ones will usually work out well. The Transformers work out really well because, let's be honest, it's little to no English and just cool special effects. So surprisingly enough, in China, those movies are huge. So to Andre's point, for us, we're like, these movies are stupid. But if your English is not a first language, you're like, this is awesome. The English is barely here, and I can subtitle it because I'm used to subtitles anyways, and robots are fighting all the time. So these are things. So yeah. Okay, before we wrap up, Andre, I want to give you one chance, of course, always, to finish us off with the I Spoken segment, which you're going to recommend something for us.
Okay. So since we are kind of talking kaiju and stuff, I want to recommend my favorite comic book series of all time. It's called Planetary. Why am I recommending Planetary? Because the 3rd issue of Planetary, they actually visit Monster Island, and it is really, really cool. But the premise of the book in general, Planetary, is it's called The Archaeologist of the Unknown, and you've got 3 investigators exploring a universe in which all superhero and pop culture things are happening in the universe. It's a great read. It was 27 issues, but you can get it in 2 trade paperbacks, 1 omnibus, or 2 hardcovers. But I think the hardcovers aren't in print right now. But again, the Monster Island episode was fantastic. They do an amazing take on the Justice League. They run into Sherlock Holmes. They run into a Wonder Woman. They run into a Tarzan-esque character. Planetary is like, it's my favorite comic book series of all time. I think it took 16 years for all 27 not 16 years, I think it took about 12 years for all 27 issues to come out, but you can read it all at once together, and it's a fantastic read, written by Warren Ellis, amazing art by the talented Mr. Sean Cassaday. So fantastic series, highly recommend it. It's a book that you will read and then reread, and then you will Google what's in so you didn't miss everything, and then you'll go back and read it again. So I have spoken. That is my pick for you, for all comic book fans to check out.
Awesome. So as we wrap it up, please let us know your thoughts. Oh, Scott's gonna have something.
I was just gonna say, this is the spoken from what, a couple of weeks ago, right? Spider-Man.
Yep.
Good stuff. They shipped to Chicago.
So yeah, they ship everywhere. So Andre, as we wrap up, where can we find you and in both for the virtual world and the desert of the real?
Right on. So you can reach out to us online. Just type in Heroes World Online. So you're going to find us on YouTube. Hopefully you're checking this out. Hopefully you've already liked and subscribed. If you haven't, you can do that now. You can check us out on Facebook. Same thing, Heroes World Online, as well as Instagram. That's where we are going to update everything. But our new website's been up for about a month, and we're adding new products constantly. We do ship all over. So if you want to support us and you're not in our neck of the woods, check out our website or reach out to us, and we can help recommend something or get something to you. Again, the key is Heroes World Online. So do a search for that. Also, if you happen to be in the GTA, we do have a physical brick and mortar store. We are 8601 Warden Avenue. Almost forgot that for 1 second. That's conveniently located at Highway 7 in Warden. Lots of parking, lots of amenities in the plaza. If you are a fellow Ontario resident or GTA resident, know that we are in the shutdown. But legit, we looked over all the stuff. It doesn't affect us in the least. We were already had a limited capacity of 25%, which we are following strictly. We have all safety measures, social distancing, hand sanitizing, masks on, face shields on. And if you do not feel comfortable coming in the store, we can still arrange curbside pickup for you. So don't hesitate to either stop by, give us a call, or reach out to us online. And hopefully you've enjoyed our content. If you can't come and support us, because we know the times are tough for everybody, just continue to like and share what you see online from us.
Awesome. Rob, where can they find you on the interwebs?
Yeah, so Mondays at 8 o'clock, live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. John and I host the Heroes World Sidekick Show, not the
Dude, that'd be awesome if we were psychic.
That would be
I
awesome.
was about to watch
Could
this
you
movie.
imagine? Yeah. What's coming out next? Let me tell you. Yeah. So anyways, you can find us there.
Where he puts an envelope to his head and he reads that things out.
Yeah. I'd be like, ping pong.
Spoomba.
Mac books and a ladies' brassiere. What is it here? So we are going
anyone
to
who's under the age of 30 has no idea what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Anyone's like,
Not at all.
under the age of 40, he's like, wait, what is he doing? And I'm like, that's Johnny Carson. We are going to be live Monday night, 8 o'clock Eastern, talking about just wrapping up the best of the 80s sci-fi action movies. I believe it is well, whatever. It's Aliens is gonna win. So it's Aliens versus something else.
Aliens versus RoboCop.
RoboCop.
that is
yeah, there we are.
That's the psychic speaking for
make a
himself.
difference.
He's like, whatever it's gonna be.
The Queen Alien. So we will be. So join us there. Scott is there every night, every Monday night, and he participates in the chat. So it's a lot of fun. So if you don't need to be, you're not physically on the camera, you'll be typing away and chatting with everybody. It's a lot of fun. So join us there on Mondays.
Scott, besides the chat on Monday, anywhere else they can find you on the internet, or is that the place to find you? Mondays, the Psychics podcast.
You will find me there. I mean, people can track me down on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. It's either posting about Heroes World or medical education. So one of those is way more fun than the other. So I'll let you guys figure out which one that is.
But if they want to find out about medical education, where are they going to find you on the what do they look up? I just don't Google medical education Scott. That seems like I'm
I mean, it would
weird
be
YouTube rabbit hole of stuff on the internet.
If you track down, it's like at S Graziano 11 for either Twitter or Instagram. That's where I hide.
So people that are looking for medical knowledge, go there. You go. So
or heroes.
or his new podcast coming out called Stronger Conspiracy Heroes, where he tracks down real superheroes and where they could possibly be. This is the new thing coming.
Oh my
out.
God! We just have an idea. We just cracked an idea for a podcast with Scott.
Oh no! Oh no, he's been muted. Oh no! Wait. Oh, Andre stopped him again. Oh God. Oh no. Oh, oh God, he's been silenced again.
I have too much power. I love my power here.
This is just too much.
That's what I have to say to you. me and the Gellers.
Unbelievable. So thank you all for joining us on this podcast. The truth is out there, Rob. One day you'll get your ideas out, maybe on the sidekicks, where just like the power broker, Andre is watching. So be careful, please.
Redacted.
So, thank you, Scott. Pleasure as always.
Thank you.
Love to have you.
Thank you,
Andre,
Thanks, Scott.
Rob.
Good seeing you.
See you guys next time. Thank you all.
hosting us,
Bye.
Stu.
See you all later.